time once again to go racing.
The pressure is really on now.
And it's pole position.
And it's pedal to the metal. Go, go, go!
Good evening, everybody, and welcome along to PSGL Season 29. We are here for round number 13 at the Circuit of the Americas for the United States Grand Prix for the F2 tier. My name is Jess, and joining me, as per usual, we got Owen Wyatt. Owen, how you doing?
Hello Jess, hello to all the viewers as well, and yes, we are here. The Circuit of the Americas should be a decent race tonight. We have got a decently close championship still. I wonder if Fabi's going to pick up his first win tonight. He's been trying for so long. Needs to happen eventually, doesn't it?
Yeah, it does. We don't want a repeat of last season where the championship winner did not score a race win. It had some interesting stats to it, but it would be nice for Fabi to have a race win. But it is a track where the drivers find it tricky to not exceed track limits, just like last week. And that's where we saw Reza actually took advantage of that. He hardly had any penalties, if not at all, and he ended up taking the top step of the podium. That stood, and Fabi took home second place, and he was still very happy with that. He was hoping he would get the win, but he didn't even know Reza had no penalties, whereas Fabi had more. So Fabi thought he was going to take the win, but Reza stole it from him last week. But it is due for him, but we may see a different winner tonight as well with how close the field is, and anything can happen around here.
Well, yes, absolutely. Plenty can happen around here, although I would say the two that you would be looking at, I know we do say it could be quite unpredictable, but Fabi and Gil recently, they've been on the podium so much recently, really since China onwards. They have been on the podium all but sort of one race, really, and it's been basically those two hitting jabs at each other time after time after time. And yeah, I expect to see those two up there again. But if Risa, he's also been on the podium the last two races, if he can do anything about it, then it could make it interesting as well. But as you said, they've got to get their laps right here tonight. It could be so easy to get it wrong. We've already lost Recon from the session, although we might have just been doing that in the pit. No, he's actually had an accident. He actually has had an accident in his Alpine, so they're even struggling on the height laps here. So quality is important here.
I think it's one of the right-handers where we lost it as well, I think it was just before turn 15 and 16, because I think we were just riding on board with Kazizel, so we just got past that as well. And Recon, even though he's out of championship contention, he's still got a point to prove, because you don't want to be demoted another tier for next season. So that's what obviously the drivers are looking for, to either stay in F2 or in F1. Circuit of the Americas have been around for quite a bit, actually. His first inaugural Formula 1 race was hosted back in 2012. Lewis Hamilton won a few races here as well. Max Verstappen won the last one. And this track ended a long winless streak drought from Kimi Raikkonen back in 2018. Oh, gone were the days. That was absolutely brilliant, I have to say. But we could see someone take a win here. We'll have to wait and see. We got people on their laps now, as I think Karen's about to start one as well. And the S section kind of reminds me of Suzuka, obviously Maggots and Beckett's as well. And one bit wrong, then you're probably going to end up flying into a wall basically as well. And watch out for the curbs too in certain parts of the track. But there are plenty of spots to overtake around here, especially going into the back straight with the DRS straight as well, and at the start-finish straight too. So this is going to be very, very exciting. I think this is a track where we saw, obviously, Toxic Tomato won the Season 26 title, but obviously there's no title to be decided tonight. The gap is too small for anyone to stop Fabi tonight. So it will be rounded up to next week in Azerbaijan. And then who knows, just like last season, we could have it wrapped up in Brazil as Suko, the championship runner-up from last season, is currently fastest with a 1:30.8 as he just crossed the line, and Gil goes second with a 1:31.0.
Yes, I was just watching Gazizzle there. He got his last corner all wrong. Just wondering why he's actually in a Mercedes tonight. I don't know if he's actually moved or he's in there by accident. But
I think he forgot to select his car.
Last we checked, he was a Ferrari driver, so I don't know what sort of penalty there is for picking the wrong car. Perhaps I'll just move the points to the other team. But yeah, that's Gazizzle in a Mercedes. If you're wondering, we don't actually know ourselves, but just know that he shouldn't really be there.
No, you shouldn't. And Valentin, who's had some bad luck, DNF'd again last week, currently slots his car into P2. Hopefully he can score his first point of the season. The only full-time driver, I believe, who has yet to score a point. Everyone else, including his teammate Jensen, who joined halfway through the season, scored a point before him. So tonight could be his night. We got an Aston Martin coming across the line. That is Hadler, who DNF'd last week. He's looking for redemption this week. He slots his car into P5. And I think we do have a McLaren, or it might be in the pits actually. Nope, it's Fabi. He comes across the line into P7 with a 1:31.229. Not the best qualifying that. But I was speaking to him. This is a track where he rates his chances a lot better compared to Baku and Brazil. So if he gets good points tonight, I'm sure that he stands a good chance in the final two races. Yannick, who's reserve, is heading towards the final few corners now. He's yet to set a lap time. He seems to be okay so far. No invalidations, as long as he doesn't invalidate in the final corner. That was close, but it's a 1:31.6. P8 for now. So the top 10 only 10 times on the board at the moment.
Yeah, once again, track limits proving to be as consistent as ever. Try not to see the sarcasm in that one. I don't know how they keep managing to find these exploits. They must spend so much time. Maybe that's why I'm so slow on this game. I just stick to the track limits, you know, but they know every single spot you can go off and get away with it. It's what Zizzle was doing on his lap, but he just got it a little bit too wrong. But yeah, that's interesting lines. But yeah, we see the Haas boys second and third again. Let's say I was looking at it, you mentioned it. That Valentin still sits on no points. He only has 2 finishes this season, and both of them right side the points. It's just, I feel we should almost just ignore him and let him get on with it. And maybe if we just stop mentioning this stat every week, he might actually get points.
Like,
you know?
George Russell. Like as soon as the commentators David Croft stopped mentioning George Russell and his points, he kept getting them, didn't he? Like the fact that after, like, was it Hungary when he got his first point, he started backing up the thing. Now he doesn't get any points. So probably due to the car more than anything. Rita crossed the line earlier on. It was not a representative lap, but at least it's a lap time on the ball, which is better than an invalidation. Ash Best is about to start its out lap. Everybody else is in the pits, but we do see a Red Bull going out of the pits right now. I think it's either Cohen. It is Cohen, because he's the only Red Bull driver out there. Cohen has had a win this season, but is yet to pick up another one. Maybe he could get up there as well. There's still some drivers that need redemption points, to be honest, including Baraka, who didn't do too well last week. He needs a good result tonight, because otherwise he's going to have a tough shot in Azerbaijan and Brazil, because he is almost, if Fabi scores well and Baraka doesn't, he's almost in the realms of not being in championship contention after tonight, because you can't be no more than 35 points going into Azerbaijan, because if you are, you're out of the championship fight going into next week.
Yeah, and he
2 weeks.
he should have really won, shouldn't he?
Yes.
Last week, and it's not the first time we've said that about him. I mean, he was put himself in prime position and stuck it in the wall, didn't he? And ends up with nothing, and it leaves him 22 points off the lead of the championship, and that could so easily have swung back around on him. He could have ended up winning that race and making himself level on points with Fabi instead of finding himself 22 points off. That's how big that accident was for him. So, once again, we'll be looking for some redemption from him. He is the biggest redemption, as you say, and he absolutely needs it now, because as Ash Best goes for a spin, the championship is becoming vital at this point, and you only have 2 more rounds after this to save yourself. So it's a big night for him, and you can see how close the pack already is on their lap time. So he really needs to be absolutely on it. He's had a couple of poor quality performances this season. This has to be perfect.
Yeah, he's another driver who's yet to pick up a win this season. He got close in France, like we said earlier on in the season, but his strategy didn't help him there as well. But the conditions were quite crazy as well. And but he's got a few second places. He's DNF'd two times, and he's been outside the points 2 times when he's finish it. So I think he will need to get a win in order to stay in the fight, really, because otherwise he's out of it. As who's about to cross the line? We do have Mercedes of Cazizzo. Gotta get used to that for tonight. He's in a Mercedes tonight because he picked the wrong car. Next to cross the line will be, I think it's just more people on their outlaps, really. Gill's about to start his lap as well. He's got, I believe, a win to it. Yep, he got a win to his name in Canada. What a great win he had doing the one-stop strategy. Who's doing quite well. He's currently sitting in second in the championship. I believe it's, I'm just trying to see, 8-point gap between himself and Fabi. So he'll still be in the fight going into Azerbaijan, but it's kind of like in real life with Max Verstappen and Lewis Hamilton being only 8 points adrift. If Gill finishes first and, say, Fabi finishes second, for example, for the next 2 races, they could be, well, after tonight, they could be level on points unless Fabi gets the fastest lap, which means Fabi will probably be leading that, but that's how close the top 2 have been all season. It's just Gill's really started to come to his own in the last few races as he goes towards the back straight now. And it seems to me he's backed off a bit. Yes, I think he's backed off unless he's taken a... Yeah, he's backed off. Okay.
Mercedes off. I see around the final corner. He was on for an improvement. Jensen was into the pits. He was actually on for P1 with his lap time. How about his teammate? He's also would have been on for P1 by a long way, but he invalidated his time. So guys are messing up in that sort of last sector is where it's all going wrong. CC Brain's kept it all valid, but it's not a massive improvement on his position. As Kazizel behind him does make it go P1 ahead of Suko then by nearly 0.2 of a second. Although I'm sure we'll see some sort of response from the Alpine driver perhaps later on in the session. And who else is coming through?
Gill.
We've got Gill as well, but he's had a very bad lap. He's going to go again and see what he can do on a second attempt on that tyre. Daniel in the Ferrari is coming as well, with Fabi just behind. So let's see how that one's going to go for the Ferrari driver. He goes up into the top 3. And Fabi, let's see. P2, not bad.
That was pretty good. He needed that statement today. P2 is close to P1 always. He never gets P1, doesn't he? But he's about almost a tenth slower than Kazizel. So as long as he finds a few tenths, he could snatch that pole position. He's got a long way to go, and this is his second set of softs. So he's quite close. It's going to get very, very exciting. Riza, last week's race winner, what can he do? Currently sitting P14. He slots his car into P3. The top 6 are insanely close in the 130.7 to 130.9, separated by 2 attempts. We got Mercedes coming across the line. No, it's not. And that's Azzy, who's going into the pits.
Yeah, comes Suko.
Suko coming across the line. He's currently sitting 3rd. Can he get pole position? He beats Fabi by quite a bit, actually. 130.722. Again, that is quite close. We do have an AlphaTauri that's CC Brain is into the pits because he invalidated. Naughty boy. Kazizel, I think, will go to the pits, I think. Yes, he does. But he has Gil, I think, on his second attempt. No, but he's not. He's in the pits. So everyone is going to go for their final runs very, very soon. I think Gil wants to be on fresh tyres, so that's why he's coming in.
He was invalid on his lap. He was actually on pace, so he's got to make sure he gets it right next time with those track limits. But yes, we've got under a tenth of a second then, separating the top 3. We do have 6 different teams in the top 6, so plenty to play for right now, although you can argue that Kazizel is still technically a Ferrari driver, even though he's not really in the Ferrari, but he should be. Everyone else is either on an outlap or on an in-lap by the looks of it. I'm just going to see who's actually going to be first round. I can't see how long's actually left. 4 minutes 11, okay. So that does give all those people in the pits plenty of opportunity. Just for those guys who are off sequence, they hopefully won't need to worry about the traffic either. I think Jensen will probably be the first one to start a final set of laps. He might do more than one. It's what you tend to see when you go this early. It's sort of a sign of, if you mess the first lap up, you give yourself a chance for another one. But we'll see what happens with that.
Yes, as I think he's about to start one now, and tyre wear around here is not too bad compared to other tracks, so you can, I think, go for more than one lap on the softs, but you don't really want to be starting on much worn tyres compared to your rivals, because they're going to get the better start, but the temperatures will be a lot better. They'll be a lot warmer than ones on 1 lap old soft tyres, so maybe that's what Jensen wants, and maybe just like the last few weeks, he wants to get a banker lap in and make sure he gets one which is solidifies his place maybe in the top 5, and then if he bins it on his first lap he can go again, or if he bins it on his second lap, at least he's got his first lap to deal with as well. So I think we saw that a lot of the races this season, that the ones that were set in the middle of qualifying were the ones that were in up because they just couldn't get a lap together, as Netsky has had a bit of a switch there as he went past the SS section. He's not looking too bad, but again, I think he will need to find a little bit more time. At least he gets to go again, and I believe Jensen has backed off. Yes, he has. So he's got DRS open, but he is running high on ERS, so he'll be going for one final lap, and at least he'll have full batch when he goes to the line. So it will be Netsky, I think, the first person. Or would it be Cohen? Is Cohen third on a lap? No, but it's Netsky. Third is on a lap as he's passed turn at 12. There are 2 right-handers here, one following directly after another, so you've got to be intricate with your moves, and he seems to be all right at the moment. Netsky needs a good result today. Even though he joined midway through the season, he's still in the championship fight, and if he doesn't get a good result, he is out of the championship fight, but I'm sure he's not expecting to be in a championship fight, so any good result for him would be a bonus. Final corner he goes, first man to set a final, pretty much final lap time, only P13 though.
Very exciting lap from no on board. That was good fun to watch.
It was.
He certainly was giving it everything for there. Sadly though, the exciting laps isn't always the best way around it. Gill has started his last lap, as has a couple of other drivers, but for the championship context, just to propose a lap you've really got to be keeping an eye on, because if he doesn't make this work, he could be at risk of falling outside the top 10, which could have him so low down, and he's going to back off in the first sector. He's going to end up going again later on, so definitely leaving it right to the last minute. As we see the Mercedes Avassi, he's also on a lap, so we'll see how he's going to be getting on. You'll see a lot of cars in front of him on out laps, and so it'll be interesting to see if they all can move out of the way on time. They'll all be keeping an eye on the clock, making sure they don't actually run out of time, but yeah, hopefully it won't get in the Mercedes driver's way, but we will see. He has got his teammate directly in front of him, so that shouldn't be much of a problem. And yeah, hopefully it'll be all good to the line. He's 1.1 off the pace, so he hasn't really set a massively representative time yet. Baraka is also on a lap. Want to keep my eye on him because he hasn't set any lap times at all. Apart from Recon, who bins it on his first out lap, he's the only one who hasn't actually got a lap on yet. But here comes Assi, then round the last corner. This, I'm sure, will be the last time for him this session. It is 13th place, half a second off the pace. Jensen as well is coming through. He's moved up to P6. It was a purple final sector for him. A few more coming round as well, mainly to start laps by the looks of it, and a lot of people having to move out of the way. It's quite a frantic situation out here on track. Hopefully everyone can find a space. Baraka, this is a big lap in terms of his championship. He needs this to be right up there, and it's only 14th fastest. Once again, he's had a bad qualifying session. Cohen's coming through. He's going to improve up to P4. Decent from him. Who else is coming through? We've got Hadler. He's up by a little bit, and it's going to be a lot now for that final sector, so good from him. He's up into 4th place as well. CC Brain's still out there. I wonder if he might even have a chance of beating Baraka's time as well, although I do see he's actually running quite slowly. So it looks like Baraka's only going to be starting P14. Really not ideal. Here's Valentine. He's next across the line. It should go P1, and it does. Let's see how long that's going to hold as we see others coming through. Yannick first. He's not making an improvement. He's also invalid. Daniel next up. He's up by a 10th, and he goes up into 5th place. Risa, he's up by a couple of hundreds of a second. That would move him up to P7. And he has a bit of a slide though for the last corner. Still, though, find more time in the last sector. Good from him. Here comes Ash Best. He's on a really decent lap. I could put him up there as well, but he's lost a bit of time in the final sector. And Fabi is not making time so far and only find a little bit in the final sector, so it's not going to be pulled for him. Suko, he's on pole position pace, but he's cut the final corner. That could well have been it, although he had lost time anyway. And that would be qualifying over by the looks of it. I don't think anyone else is on a lap.
Because it was invalidated.
There was a chance perhaps that Suko would maybe just, you know, cut that last corner and backed off a tiny bit. I wonder if he hadn't cut that, how committed he would have been. Could he have at least put himself on the front row? Either way, at the very least, he'll get some sort of substitute up towards turn 1. And if we go off Valentine's record this season, that P1's not going to last for very long. So it might be all about who's that first car behind him for when he makes the inevitable mistake. Or will Valentine finally make it work today? As we said, he's had no points. He's had only 2 finishes. This is the 3rd time we think he's been on pole this season, so he's got to make it work this time.
But unfortunately, the records, I think, in the past, apart from obviously Japan, state that if you get pole, you do not win the race. So the odds are not really stacked in Valentine's favour, but you never know. He could prove us wrong. And like we saw in Mexico last week, you don't have to be on pole to win the race as long as you keep it clean with no penalties. Even if it's just 3 seconds, it's better than having 6 seconds or 9 seconds. I think that's what we need to watch out for. As Kazizel, I think, could have got pole as well if he didn't invalidate. So times they just couldn't beat Valentine's time at the moment, and that could be huge for some people's championship chances, because Fabi's only sitting in 4th place in the qualifying standings, but that will be good chance for the likes of Suko and Kazizel. Suko especially to maybe get up there. Potentially, I'm looking at the standings, I think he's out of championship contention. I'm not entirely sure. No, he's still in championship contention, but that result was definitely what he needed if he wanted to bring it to Baku.
So then, Valentine on pole from Kazizel, Suko, Fabi, Daniel, Risa, Hadler, Ashbest, Cohen and Jensen. That top 10 separated by just over a 1/3 of a second. Really close stuff once again. But Valentine on pole by over a 1/10 of a second. In fairness, it was such a good lap. Will it finally work out for him? Gil is 11th. He will get free tyre choice, but I'm sure he would much have preferred to just qualify at the front. But we'll see if he can make anything happen. He has been on great form. He has been on the podium in all of his last 4 finishes. So can he make it a 5th finish and a 5th podium? Obviously, he didn't finish in Portugal, but all the results around that are 2nd place, 1st, 2nd, 3rd. So could be an exciting fight through the grid for him, and we'll see how it all pans out. It's not going to be a wet race by the looks of it, unless the weather rapidly changes, because it's a bright sunny day on the grid.
Yeah, it is. No rain, which is to be expected. I don't think I've ever came across a wet race around America on this game. I think if someone does have a wet race around USA, it's quite rare, because even in real life, it didn't rain in the Americas race as well. So a relief for the drivers. We get to see the drivers' pure skill, which means it should be an easy one-stop race. My data said it's soft to hards, but knowing from what happened last week, we said it was soft to hards last week. I think I'm almost certain from the way the drivers are driving, it could be soft to mediums. I think it will be soft and mediums. The softs can last 12 laps and the mediums can last 16 laps, so it just about lasts the whole distance if you can make it work. And with any safety cars, they could definitely make soft and mediums work potentially as well. So a lot easier compared to last week, whereas, is it a one-stop or is it a two-stop? Definitely a one-stop here today, and we're looking at the tyre choices today for outside the top 10. All medium tyres to be expected. No one is choosing the hards, and I wouldn't, because hards around here, I've driven around the hards on here, and they are awful.
They are indeed. You don't want to be on the hards at all. And yeah, good to see no one's on them. Obviously, I suppose it's expected for all those medium runners to be on them, because really, what else can you do on the positions outside the top 10. If they can make any spots in the early stages, it'll be good. But I suppose they're just looking at holding their positions and just keeping the tyres until they have a chance to get ahead of these soft runners when they pit or if the tyres go down. So yeah, you'll again, as you've seen a lot this season, see sort of two scraps, leader of the soft runners and leader of the mediums, and then it'll all sort of sort itself out at the end of the race. But yeah, obviously safety cars incidents could mix this up a little bit. So we'll see how it all pans out. But like I say, you got to be looking at Baraka here. This is well, possibly the day we lose him from the championship fight. I hope not.
Me
because
neither.
we know what PSG's got. We know what PSG's got, and we've already seen in previous seasons what happens to Alfa Romeo drivers in a championship fight, though. Especially when you get to Baku. So if he's at least in the fight. But yeah, Alfa haven't always had the best luck in this tier, but we'll see. We'll see what happens today.
Yeah, a few more foot corners to go before we start the 28-lap race. Watch out for Gil, watch out for Baraka, watch out for Gil's teammate as well. They can probably whack up some interesting strategies as well. Watch out for Reza in P6. If he could keep it penalty free like last week, he could be on for a good result too. Watch out for the run to turn 1. That has caused some issues in the past in league races and in real life. So we'll see if they all make it through turn 1 without any incidents, as Recon's going to be the final car to make its way onto the grid.
So we're all lined up then. A long run up towards turn 1, and a very wide turn 1 at that. So there's plenty of opportunity for overtaking. It's Valentin from Kazizel, and the 5 lights are on. And looked like a pretty decent start from Fabi. He got a very nice reaction indeed. Can he get himself up in front of the Mercedes into second position? He's going to go up the inside towards turn 1. This could be really important for his championship if he can make this move work.
Oh.
There's a Red Bull facing the wrong way. Oh no! Fabi's had an accident. He had a wee collision on the exit of the corner, and it just sent him spearing across the track. No front wing on that car. We could see safety car because there's a lot of debris around the track, and there's more accidents happening as well. I believe that might well be the other Mercedes. Oh, wow! That has to be safety car. It's a huge impact. And it's, yeah, definitely a safety car. Cohen, absolutely unsighted by a car that wasn't ghosting. Why wasn't it ghosting? I thought we have ghosting on. And you got Assi sat in the middle of the track, and it's just ruined the race for Cohen, who was already in a bad position. Fabi at least gets to pit. Baraka, though, wow, he's made himself up to P8. So really, that's been the ideal start for him. Losing Fabi, Gil, he's got through. Gil's got through the debris. I was wondering what was happening in that mid-pack. Might have just been an Alpine I saw then. Possibly Recon, who hasn't got a front wing. There was certainly a front wing going, but no, he's alright as well. It's actually Netsky. He's the one who lost the front wing. So there was collisions at turn 1, collisions in the S section. Valentin, in all fairness, had a really good start and was able to keep himself out of all that drama. But I'm trying to figure out who it was actually that had the collision with Fabi on the exit of turn 1. Was it possibly Daniel he had the collision with?
I think I'll look at the replays on the stream and see who actually caused that, because...
Yeah, he's got front wing damage. It might well have been Daniel and Fabi then that came together. We might see a lot of pit stops here. And the first one of them is actually Baraka. Did he end up with damage as well? Or is this going to be some sort of strategic thing?
Is he going on hards, potentially?
There's a front wing being taken out, so he's...
Oh.
Yeah, he's actually had damage there, so... Okay. He made a hold of positions up, but even though there's no visual damage, there is definitely damage there. He's on with the soft compound tires. Daniel's sticking hards on to the end. Recon is in the pits for new front wing, so maybe he didn't lose the whole thing, but was involved. So Netsky and Daniel are on the hard. Recon and Fabi are on mediums, and Baraka's on the softs. All the rest of them are still out there. So that is the situation.
Yes, so I think... I wouldn't have pitted if I was on the soft tyres, because otherwise you would have to pit again one more time for another stop, and since they're only required to do one stop around here, it's not viable potentially as well. He could go on the hards again. It's an absolute nightmare, but it's only a nightmare at the start of the race. Anywhere past that should be alright, but Valentin has got to make sure he nails his start, and same with Kazizel as well. This could be his big chance. Reza also had a good start as well, up to 4th place. I'm seeing who else has gained massive off the start. I think Ash Best gained a position. Jensen gained a position as well. CC Brain up 6 places as well. Gill up 2. Both the Williams car had a good start as well. That could be good for the constructors. But obviously, big losers were Daniel and Fabi there. Good news for Gill, because that means he can close the gap to Fabi a little bit. Not quite, because Gill will score 2 points if he sits there at the end of the race, and the gap will cut down to, I believe, 6 points. So it will still put Fabi in prime position, but I know Fabi would want to climb himself up to near the front again. But yeah, this is not the race where he wanted to have bad luck, because he said to me earlier, Baku and Brazil he absolutely hates.
So just looking back at the start of the race, I'm actually wondering if it was Fabi himself losing the car and then collecting the Ferrari. It just seems a very odd incident, because unless he's got tapped from the rear, I don't see where he's actually been turned around, because he wasn't anywhere near Daniel. I don't know, perhaps Risa might have tapped his rear as Netsky's in the pits again, getting off those hard tyres. Will Daniel follow him in? No, he won't. But I just wonder, maybe Risa gave him a small tap, or Fabi lost it on traction, but Daniel wasn't at fault, I don't think, for that incident, so he just sort of got caught up in it. And then, obviously, all the rest of the accidents happened after it.
It looked like Fabi lost it by himself, and Daniel had nowhere to go, so he got collected by Fabi as well. And then I think it was the Red Bull of Cohen that lost it into turn 1 as well, and obviously he got collected by Azir as well in 17th, and that's ended both of their races. So collisions so far in F2, but let's hope that was the last of them. But knowing these drives, there could be more. But I believe the safety car will be coming in this lap, as we're just waiting for Netsky to close in. Only one driver now on the hard tyres, as Daniel is on the hards and Netsky just pitted onto fresh medium. So we'll see how they go throughout the field, and everyone on the mediums will go onto the softs until the end, and we will see if who's going to get the cleanest getaway, really. And it's not, I think it's about who gets a good slipstream, I think, as well. Watch out for Suka and Kazizel, maybe Rizzo as well, but Valentine, if he doesn't get a good restart, the other drivers are going to be on it pretty much from the word go. So a safety car is coming in this lap, as everyone has now caught up. So Valentine will now try and hold the field up until the safety car line, and then we could get underway again. We haven't even had a green flag lap yet, so hopefully this could be the first one very soon.
So Valentine, if he has anywhere near as good a start as he did for the official start, then he'll be just fine. And because he'll be sitting there, I suppose. I wonder how he will take this, because with his situation in the championship, he might not have much to lose, actually. So he might go for it. But let's see. Safety car's pulled in. Valentine has bolted. So I'm not imagining he's going to have that bad an exit to the final corner, unless the game slows him down, but it hasn't. He nailed it all perfectly fine. Reese is getting a bit close to Suko, but no real movement in towards turn 1 then. They're all keeping it relatively clean. Baraka is on softs against mediums of CC Brain, so that is a move you would expect to be made, and it was. And yeah, relatively clean. Well done, everybody, but let's make sure you get through the S's as well, because that's where you actually saw most of the problems, but I think we're all good. So Valentine still leads this race.
Yes, by 4/10 of a second over Kazizel, and don't forget, no DRS will be activated until around about lap 6. So lap 6 will, where we see mainly the attack at the moment, but as long as they keep it clean before that, that should be absolutely fine as well. And the two Williams teammates still close together, but we got Ridza that could close in onto Suka, not quite close enough. Kazizel, I think if he had DRS, he would have got Valentine, but no DRS at lap 6, like I said earlier, as Recon is trying to get a move past CC Brain into turn 11 and 12, which he did. As I think Gil has been passed by Baraka, as to be expected, because Baraka is on the softs, whereas Gil is on 3-lap old medium. So Baraka's next target is Yannick, and if he gets past Yannick, he's well into the path of the other soft runners, and he is back in this race after that. He's got to get that move done because he doesn't want to get stuck behind his mediums all the time. But yeah, good start from Valentin. Good restart from Baraka as well. Gil falling all over the show right now. And Netsky's not able to make his way through either. So good start from some people, not so good by others, but still a long way to go at this race.
Yeah, and of course DRS will help perhaps some of these fights as well, because Izzle does seem quick enough to challenge Valentin. Although Valentin, in fairness, wasn't using any ERS on that last lap, so perhaps he's just keeping himself ready. Obviously, it's a very long DRS straight, isn't it? But as long as he's in a somewhat okay position to defend, I'm sure he'll be able to. But he is carrying quite the train, and because Izzle is just teasing him, isn't he, in the hairpin? Just showing he can brake late and keep the car under control as Baraka fails in trying to get past Yannick, but it will at least put Yannick under a bit of pressure. Saying that though, the run down that back straight isn't particularly good, and he's running his ERS down here, Baraka. So maybe he could have done with getting that move done right there and then, because you fail it once and lose the ERS, it could hold you back for a little bit longer. Hadler might be about to fall out of DRS as Baraka tries again, but that should be able to be cut back by Yannick, I'd imagine. But no, he hasn't quite made it work. So Baraka, fair move actually, up to P8. Yannick perhaps didn't have the grip on the mediums to fight back with that one. As I was saying, Hadler was briefly falling out of DRS, hasn't actually done so yet, but I will go be looking for that first car to have it happen, because it could be quite important for the shape of this race who falls out of DRS first.
Yeah, because everyone's in a big DRS train now. No one has fallen within just over 1 second. Hadler is quite close, same with CC Brain as well, but everybody else should be good. Baraka's in danger of losing out to Ash Best, but he's catching up once again. We'll see Baraka and Ash Best who's quicker out of the two, but Baraka is looking like to potentially get the move, but they both have DRS. So I think the first move will be challenged by Kazidl, because Valentin is the only driver out of all 15 cars still in this race to have no DRS, because of he's the one at the front as well. Kazidl has hardly used any ERS, so he's been saving it for this moment because he knew he couldn't overtake until he got DRS. So here he goes then, down this back straight, use all the power that you need to. Is he going to get the lunge into the first right-hander that he's looking for? No, Valentin closed the door there, a bit of sparks flying there, but that is still P1 for him. Suko got into the back of this as well, and CC Brain's been passed by Fabi into the same corner. He's up into 30. Fabi, CC Brain is down into 14 as well. Baraka, he couldn't get past into that second right-hander, so he stayed in P8, but Kazidl, he'll have to do it all over again next lap, but this time he'll have to run into turn 1 with the DRS this time on lap 7, so maybe he can get the move done there.
Yeah, because Izzle wasn't interested in the slightest to go for that move on the last lap. He could easily have done it. He's just biding his time as we have Netsky off the road. As you said, he joined late into this championship, but perhaps it isn't going to be his this season. As Baraka gets himself past Ash Best as they head down the hill, will Ash be able to fight back? Tricky to go side by side through these S's, but they're going to try it. And Baraka, this is important for his race, and he has made the move work. Fabi, oh, he's cut a corner somewhere. It must be turn 1. He's lost a lot of time as well. Was he possibly involved with Netsky's spin? Because he's so far down and has a 5-second time penalty now. Netsky obviously out of the race. He went into the pit straight away to retire. Fabi is going to take a big points loss to Baraka if Baraka can keep this momentum up. Because this time might feel he has to go for the move for the lead because he's got Suko all over him. So Valentin might end up losing 2 places, maybe even 3 places in one straight. Let's see what his braking's like. He has a big lockup. He goes off the road. He still holds that 3rd place though. Risa perhaps wasn't too eager to get through and have an accident early on, but I would say that the Alfa Romeo might be able to try it now as he goes up the inside. Should be a pretty easy move from here, and the Alfa Romeo driver, will he be able to get this thing through? Valentin does have a decent line on the inside, so Risa actually doesn't quite get it done now. This lets Hadler into the fight because Izzle and Suko already pushing away, so that isn't really a massive surprise to see. They made their moves pretty easy in the end. And yeah, let's see how many cars can get up to those front two. But Valentine, well recovered from losing the 2 positions. He hasn't lost any more.
Yeah, it's great to see. He did start on pole, but I don't think I was expecting him to get the win. But at least he's still in this race so far. And I do believe with Netsky out of this race, unless obviously the 2 championship contenders have a nightmare the last 2 races, then there's no way that Netsky would be in the championship fight. So as it stands, Netsky is eliminated from championship contention, and if Hadler doesn't get a win tonight with the other drivers failing to score, he will also be out of championship contention after tonight, as the gap needs to be 35 points or higher, as Hadler is now on the back of Rita, but he can't get past. Let's see what Rita could do on Valentine. He couldn't get it done last lap, but is he going to get it done on this lap? We got Suko as well for the lead. There's 2 battles going here, one for the podium and one for the lead, but this time Suko gets the job done. He's up into P1. Jensen gets past Hadler into P5. So now it's the 2 Haas drivers working together. But at a crucial point, Rita could be out of DRS soon into turn 1, so that won't be good. So he's got to close in somehow. Hadler's had a bit of a spin into the second right-hander. That is not good.
He's been dive bombed, I think, by Baraka. I cut on board as it was happening. He just sort of went straight as he went into the corner. Did Hadler, and then he got himself mugged by Ash Best. I'm not sure if he was maybe shoved off by Baraka. Perhaps just wasn't expecting to see the Alfa Romeo up his inside. But now he's going to find Gill trying to get past him, perhaps into turn 1. He's using ERS and the DRS, so he seems like he's happy enough to try it on those mediums against the softs, trying to get past a vulnerable Hadler at this stage, and he should be able to get it done now. As you can see, Hadler has to just get himself into the slipstream in the dirty air of Gill for now, but still in the points at least, but not a very good couple of corners for him. Fabi still finds himself in no position to catch up to anyone at the moment. I'm wondering if that crash on the first lap, is there perhaps a little bit of floor damage, even some rear wing damage when he spun through the wall. It happened to me there at turn 2 at USA. You can hit that wall, and as you spin, it can damage the rear as well. I wonder if something like that's going on, because he is just nowhere. Recon now up there, and Kazizel trying to get somewhere as well on the race leader. 2 has to swap position, and I wouldn't be expecting him to fight too hard, but Valentine is looking at getting back past, and he shoves his teammate rightly wide off the road. And look out for Baraka, he's taking a very wide line to cut back, just as Valentine's done. He's cut the corner while he's done it, the Haas driver. Like I said, those 2 Haases shouldn't be fighting. Jensen's clearly quicker at this stage of the race. You can see by how he's moved forward and Valentine's gone backwards. So why even fight it? Because it just costs you both time. And Valentine's going to pit now. And Baraka will, as a result of that, move up into 5th place. Let's see if he can challenge Jensen in the coming laps. But certainly, after a bad qualifying, Baraka is taking advantage of Fabi's situation and of Gill's to a certain extent, being ahead of both of them. And he's going to be trying to close that 22-point gap in the championship. So as high as he can get, he will absolutely go for every position he can.
Yeah, I think Baraka's got a good chance to close the gap tonight as well. And if Fabi does not score any points, the gap will be brought down to, I think, less than 10 points. Not even that. Pretty much the same gap as what Fabi and Baraka, Gill had earlier on in the season. As someone's gone off, that is Valentine that's had a spin. Can't he get any luck from him this season? Jeez, I think it was just a spin though that he's had. He got very unlucky before he got to the S's coming out of the pits. Cold tyres on those Haas car, and he's on the hard, so it's to be expected. 2 Williams drivers fighting for position, and they got Recon as well. CC Brains Auto fighting for P9, and he got past them. But look at this, the 2 Williams drivers have got to make sure they keep the Alpine driver behind, which they do going into this next right-hander. And Gill retains P6. He's got to try and close up to Baraka sooner or later, because he's vulnerable now to Yannick and Recon, who both have DRS behind him, and they can catch with that slipstream. Jensen is also in danger for losing out on DRS, as we got a lot of people responding to the undercut. Suko, Kazizel, And I think pretty much everyone apart from Baraka, due to the double stacking not working on this game, has boxed. And we'll see if they're going on to mediums or hard. Suku and Kadil are going on to mediums. And I think, yeah, everyone that's just pitted apart from Valentine has gone on to the medium compounded tyres. So I wonder if Valentine has made a mistake pitting when he did. But we will find out later on, as Baraka will need to pit next lap.
Well, I'm not sure. Remember, he started on mediums and had to pit for a front wing. Give it a couple of laps, Sis. He might be able to go into another set of the softs. This could be actually changing that front wing on lap 1, getting off the mediums as soon as possible. This could possibly work out for him. I'm not saying he is going to change onto the softs, but he has 2 or 3 laps here where he can just extend the stint. And obviously a lighter fuel load at the end isn't going to wear the soft tyres out as much as they would have before. Could he go for a second set of softs and put himself right in contention? That might be the game plan, as Daniel gets himself past CC Brain. Fabi now closing slightly on those two, but really it's still looking too good. And Valentine has pitted now for some mediums, but that will effectively be his day over, won't it? I mean, he's nowhere now. 37 seconds off Adler. That was the man he was fighting earlier. You know, it's happened again to Valentine.
Right, I'm not going to say anything next week. I'm not going to say anything next week about, well, 2 weeks' time, because we're on a break week next week. But I'm not going to say anything in 2 weeks' time about Valentine situation, and then hopefully he'll get points. Someday, Valentine, someday. And Baku could be the place, because we've seen some instance in Baku in F2 last season, which could affect things. So you never know with Valentine, but it is gone a bit darker here in USA. A bit overcast right now. Will it be threat of rain, or will it stay like this for the rest of the race? Track temperature starting to decrease, so this could work really well for Baraka, as he's 1.6 seconds clear of Gil so far. He's still yet to pit. Same with Yannick as well. They'll be going on to the softs at the end of the race. The net race leader who has made their stops is Suko still, but he's still got Kazidal Chase for the lead. Same with Risa as well, and Jensen. I have to say, Jensen has been the biggest surprise so far. No, I wasn't expecting him to be up there, but he's doing a good job so far scoring points for the Haas car. I think he's been improving a lot since he joined this season, and again, he's looking to stay here next season. He started in F3 this season, and then he got promoted to F2 after some solid performances in the first few races. CC Brain, I think, got close enough to Daniel there a moment ago, but he couldn't quite get past. But CC Brain doing a solid job on those mediums, but we'll have to wait and see what happens, as the gap now increases from Baraka to Gil to 1.5 seconds. So yeah, the mediums could start to die soon, but they're going to wait to go on the soft tyres at the end, and they'll be incredibly faster. But the question is, will it be soft tyres or will it be inters? Oh, and someone's gone for a spin. That's Valentine again.
I'd be surprised if it's going to rain, because if it was, then, you know, why didn't those soft runners? Maybe they just couldn't go far enough. Perhaps the tyres might have blown up.
Yeah.
So will we see that top 7 just stay out and wait for some rain to come? But then, if they were expecting rain, why didn't all those soft runners put more softs on? So maybe rain might not be here for a while, if at all.
And there might be rain that just falls, just a sprinkle of rain, and it might not be enough to pit for inters. We don't know, so we never know what the weather could throw at us here at Kota, as we're almost halfway into this race already. Gil has caught up to Baraka, so I wonder if Baraka's had a bit of a moment, or maybe his tyres are starting to die with the crossover window. And a yellow flag is for Valentine, I believe, again in the final sector.
That'll be retiring in a minute, won't it?
Yeah, it will be, I think. But Gil close enough to Baraka in the DRS straight. Good straight line speed for him. And I think he's going to try and aim for a move here. I'm sure Baraka's going to pit soon. Valentine has retired in the pit lane. And that kind of breaks the record of the most amount of DNFs in a season. Valentine is just not going his way. Started on pole, but he's not going to get any points. Still on 0 points, and the yellow flag will be for his AI. So that these drivers will still be keeping racing until the green flags are waving, so they can't overtake yet, but they can overtake once they see green flags again.
Yeah, which is probably why there's no moves happening in this first corner, because a lot of cars are getting quite close to each other there, and I was wondering if Recon was going to have a look on Yannick, but nothing happened. And Gil in the DRS, happily in the DRS of Baraka. I think Baraka will end up losing some time here.
CC
As
Brain's
Fabi
off.
gets by CC Brain, because CC Brain has been in the wall, possibly. I don't see any major damage on the car, in fairness. And, yeah, but
Oh,
he's got a penalty as well. I mean, that's not fair, is it? I'm sure he'll get that one removed. What's he meant to do? Has he got some damage as he spins again? Hopefully nothing major. There's a safety car he could get back into this, but not if he keeps spinning off. Here comes Gil. Baraka does appear to be fighting this one as he goes to the inside to defend. An accident at this point would be a real disaster because he's in a decent position here still, Baraka, because he'll be able to put sauce on at the end of the race. But he knows that Gil's going to be doing the same thing. So this is a really important fight to be having. And it looks like Gil's the one coming out on top. Could this trigger an undercut from Baraka? Does he feel confident that he can pit on this lap? Let's see what's going to happen. Fabi's made his way to the front of the pack of cars. I wonder if Recon has possibly picked up some front wing damage. Yes, he has. It's quite major damage. That'll be why he got overtaken like that. Is Baraka going to be fighting back on Gil? Used a little bit of ERS just to stay close, but he might well be just waiting for the back straight on this lap. But we'll wait and see. He just needs to keep within that 1 second gap, and it'll be interesting to see if he can do that in the first sector, because if he can, then that is an alright omen for him. Because, I'm not sure. I'm not sure. That car does not look very good through there. Gil does seem to have a lot more confidence just with the grip on the tyres. You can see how Baraka's not really able to control where he's going at the moment, and he's not going to be getting DRS, so that would be time to pit, I think, especially because Yannick will surely be fighting his way past the Alfa Romeo on this lap. He'll just hope that the tyres can do it. He's on his 13th lap on those tyres. He will do another 13 laps on the new set, granted with no safety car laps in there. Let's see if Baraka can just, get to the pits without this Williams crashing him off. He's not even going to try and go for the move, actually, so yeah. Perhaps you should have gone in on the last lap.
yeah, because the soft tyres are only meant to last 12 laps around this circuit, so they're already past the sell-by date for Baraka, so that is why he has been falling under the radar at the moment, and Yannick could try and get past. So if I was Baraka, box for softs, they'll last to the end perfectly fine, and maybe try and close in at the end. So we'll see what Baraka does. He stays out.
So he's gonna just keep it on the road then, and make sure that at the end of the race this isn't gonna happen to him. So I guess he's taking the pain now, and then he's gonna get the rewards later on. And he's not fighting Yannick, so it's a Williams 1-2 now at the front, and Baraka will just happily let this happen. So he is I assume that maybe it is going to plan for him still. I'm sure he would have hoped he would still be in the lead by this point, but regardless, it isn't necessarily the original plan that he wanted to go with, but he will fall a long way back. He will have a lot of free air to play with, though, because he will be some distance behind the cars that he was closing in on earlier on. And, yeah, Gil, Yannick, they'll be doing the same sort of thing. Can Daniel get to the end on a set of the hards? Could do. It would be very difficult to fight off the guys behind him, but if he could, then there'll be a good result in it for him.
I did see someone get to the end on 24 lap old tyres, so it's doable. But meanwhile, Suko gets past Fabi on fresher tyres up to P5. And I think he got past Kazizel as well. So Suko in the lead. The net lead of this race. The pit lane loss around here is around about 18.5 seconds. So Suko will comfortably go ahead of everybody that's still yet to box. I think gap to the leader 7.7 seconds. So yeah, Suko will be in the lead as Baraka pits then. And he going on to another set of softs, because obviously he started on the mediums. And I think that will trigger the undercut for Gil and Yannick then. And maybe Daniel to go on a fresh set of softs too. So I doubt there's going to be rain. because otherwise some people would have stayed out a bit longer. But Baraka's dropped down to 11th now as he pits for some fresher tyres and joins Recon. As the only two drivers on the grid so far to be on fresh, soft tyres, which will go till the end of the race. And Recon currently sets the fastest lap at the moment.
You see, if I'm Daniel, I don't know if pitting is worth it. I mean, you know you're going to be behind Baraka and Yannick and Gil, so you'll probably be coming out of all this in 11th place. And well, actually, with that safety car potential, maybe then you can pit. If he's got time under the VSC, then pit. But if you do pit under,
out.
If you do pit under green, you'll be out last. So that's what Daniel's thinking. Do you guarantee yourself to lead this race when the front two pit and they have to? You don't necessarily have to pit, so why not take a risk? You're not going to lose all 10 positions that you gain out of this, surely. You'll keep a couple of them, because the guys behind you, their tyres will die, actually. Actually, in fairness, Fabi's behind him, so sorry, you'd come out 10th when it all comes out. Might as well risk it for a couple more points, but if the VSC's still out, you can pit, and that is what he's going to do. So Yannick can't double stack. I assume VSC is not ending just yet.
Yes, it has.
It is.
Oh, that is bad timing for Daniel.
Well, I mean, it saves him 2 or 3 seconds, I suppose. It's great timing for Gil as well, I suppose, as well. Do they get ahead of Baraka, I guess? That's the thing. Does Daniel get ahead of Baraka? No. Does Baraka get ahead of Gil?
No.
So, he is going to be in DRS this time, though, surely. So, yes, Daniel has come out in that P10 ahead of Fabi. I suppose we'll never find out if those hards could have gone to the end. Maybe it's why I'm not racing at the higher level, but I would have at least given it a try. But
I would have.
Oh well, he's not going to be part of the fighting pack. So let's see how many positions he can make up. But it's a long way to go to catch up to that massive DRS train of medium runners. And that's the thing, it's a DRS train you're catching up to. A lot more difficult to overtake than, say, Hadler's going to be for Gil and Baraka and Daniel, you know? But let's make sure that Gil actually gets past first. And makes it nice and easy because it put a car between himself and Baraka, which is obviously ideal for him. And he does get it done. Baraka will have to wait a couple of moments to get by. Suko, all is still going well for him. He's been effective race leader now for a while. I mean, he got past Kazizel in that first stint on the first attempt, and ever since then, he's been looking pretty comfortable. I wonder if, yeah, they're all keeping the ERS nicely as well. So I suppose you're going to see all that potentially exploding at the end, but we now enter the final phase of this race. 9 to go, or 10 to go, sorry. And yeah, let's see what's going to happen with all this. As we head around the final corner, by the way, the other guys behind Hadler are really stuck, and Hadler moves over to the left-hand side, and you'll see that that gap between Gil and Baraka now is about the 1.4 seconds, and in fact, Hadler was still trying to fight back there. And yeah, Baraka's lost a lot of time, so it might be Gil leading the pack without any ERS, or any DRS threat, sorry. And he'll be the one challenging those 5 drivers on medium tyres. Can he pick up a second race win of the season? I would say it'll be a challenge one, but...
Maybe a podium. Maybe a podium. I think he could get a podium, but a win may be a bit far-fetched, but... I'm starting to see that he's doing really well on those softs, trying to catch up to the likes of, obviously, Ash Best and, obviously, Jensen as well. So you never know what could happen for Gil as well. And Baraka, they could be up there as Daniel gets past Hadler. So, yeah, definitely those mediums are struggling at the moment. But one thing I'm actually shocked about, apart from Yannick, there are no other drivers that have time penalties. Is it like a track on this game where you can hardly get any penalties? I don't know. Or have they just practiced enough to make sure they don't exceed track limits? I think it's the latter, that they've been practicing quite a lot to make sure they avoid the time penalty. So fair play to these drivers for keeping it on the road and hardly getting any penalties. There are probably a lot of people on 2 warnings though, so I wonder how these guys will be approaching the last 9 laps as Baraka sets the new fastest lap of the race. So he's pushing once again. 6.9 is the gap between Gil and Suku now. So Gil's on a charge now, and the gap between Gil and Ash Best is 4.2 seconds.
Yeah, so Gil will be getting into that pack soon. And it'll just be about how he navigates it. I think a win is absolutely on the cards for him, in fairness, if he can get it to work. He just needs to hope that his tyres last long enough, but the medium tyres, they will also be hitting some sort of cliff towards the end of the race. So it'll be older tyres versus older tyres. It's just whether the little bit extra grip that Gil will have will make much of a difference. It also depends, I suppose, what the leading guys are going to do in terms of the fight, because obviously Kazizel could have at any point really decided to pull a move, and he hasn't on Suku. So is he waiting as late as possible to start fighting? Because they know fine rightly if they fight even for 2 or 3 corners, that'll lose them a second. So they've got to be aware of that as well, because I'm sure they'll know that Gil's coming. They'll see it on their mini maps. They won't quite see it on their timing boards just yet, but as soon as Gil gets past Ash Best or gets into his area, then the leaders will know. So, you know, they'll play this tactically, I'd imagine, and yeah, might be worth waiting to the sort of last 3 or 4 laps to actually see all the racing happen, but I assure you it is coming.
Yeah, they're probably going to work together, I would think, up until the point where Gil catches up, and then they're probably going to be finding and fending for themselves right now as well. So they're within their DRS bubble as well, and they're probably not going to fight until obviously Gil's on the back of them, and then probably Kazizel will start to fight on Suku. But we'll see. Suku has yet to pick a win this season. Kazizel, I believe, hasn't picked up a win. Riza has picked 1 win last week. Jensen yet to pick a win. Same with Ash Best this season. Gil has picked up 1 win so far. Gap now will probably be 2.9 coming up to this back straight. It's 3.0 now. And he's got the ERS. He's not obviously got DRS yet. 2.9. Yes, I predicted that correct. So Gil is very soon going to be right on the back of Ash Best. Meanwhile, Daniel has been under pressure from Baraka the last lap. But now Daniel is up into 7th, and he's going to chase down Gil now. Easier said than done. And I think a safety car could bring a lot of people back into contention, but it won't be good for Yannick, because he's the only driver to score a penalty so far. Yeah, if I were them, just don't budge for now until Gil closes in, because otherwise you're just going to end up being in a big DRS train, and there's no way you would be able to defend the fresher grip of soft tyres. 1.3 seconds quicker than the medium compounded tyres right now is Gil, so he's finding 1.3 seconds per lap. Surely it's going to be inevitable that he's going to catch up to this train by the end of this race, and if not before.
He'll be there by probably the end of this lap, all being well, maybe even next lap, and then it's about picking the cars off. Baraka will not be too happy. He got done by Daniel, I'll tell you, because it's a big, like I said, it's a big opportunity to take some points out of Fabi, which he is doing, but you know, on the soft tyres, you'd hope he'd be looking at taking a few more out than he is at the moment, but again, when all the fighting starts, perhaps that'll be when he can make something work, but yeah, I don't know, with every lap it looks less likely he'll do something. In fact, Fabi is somewhat within a chance of getting a point here, because of the way Hadler is on those mediums, quite slow. Fabi might actually nick a point, so what was looking a lot better 20 laps ago for Baraka than it is now. Yeah, perhaps it won't be a big switching point for him today, and Gil could be the one making all the strides in the championship. But he's not in the DRS zone yet. The guys at the front aren't fighting. It is all just a patient waiting game. And so we get ready for the sort of last, like I say, it'll be really that last 3 laps, won't it, where it all kicks off.
I think that's happened in quite a few races this season, when these drivers all waited until the final few laps to actually get some moves done as well, and that's even better than obviously doing it now and then ending your race like that. 2 attempts is what Gil needs to find to be within DRS of Ash Best. He's dropped a little bit going into turn 1, but hopefully he can gain some time in the S's, which he seems to be a little bit more comfortable doing. And he's also a driver that's pushing on his ERS as well, so he is keen to catch them. as well. Daniel not so much, but Gil definitely is gaining. He's got to get them as they head towards turn 11, which is the start of the DRS straight. Gil's within DRS now. Will he be in DRS heading into turn 11? I think he will. And, yeah, he's in the detection zone. So this is game on for Gil. This could be the chance that he needs to get the championship lead away from Fabi. Because obviously Fabi won't be scoring any points so far unless he gets past Hadler. He can't get past Ash Best, but people are seeing that Gil's catching. And I think we're going to start to see Kazizzle try and close in on Suku now to get these moves done. I think it's going to be who blinks first now between the top 6. Any one of the top 6 could win this race. And if any of the top 6 make a mistake, don't count out Daniel and don't count out Baraka.
Well, Baraka, if you want to kite him out, or you want to get him kited back in, he's got to speed up, hasn't he? Because time is running out for him now. But oh, big slide for Kazizzle. Is he possibly now starting to realise what's happening? Chooses a little bit of ERS to catch back up. No move happening just yet, but he knows there's a chance of a victory here on the line. And if he can do so, then it would be a decent result for him. Hey, I don't think he's won a race this season yet, has he? Hold on,
No, he hasn't.
He hasn't. He's had 3 third places so far. Suko as well has got 1 victory and 1 second place. And then obviously we know Risa won last week. Could Jensen be on for a first podium? We'll see how he can do as well. Ash Best as well is right up in this, and he has only had 2 points finishes all season. So, and you know, a lot of people with a lot to win here today. A lot of good results on the line. And Ash Best, well, he's going to be the first one in the firing line, isn't he? From Gil, and in fact he was on AI on that back straight, and that might cost him now because Gil is gonna go right round his outside, and that is the first move done. And Ash Best, I'm not sure he's gonna have the grip to fight back, so I don't really know why he was sat in AI. Was he checking something? Either way, that wasn't really the best idea when you're fighting someone who's on quicker tires. And well, when you're a DRS train, you maybe shouldn't be allowing that to happen to you. And, well, that's 1 car by. Daniel will not take too long as well, I'd imagine. And, yeah, sadly, Ash Best will be falling down. But that's 1 move done for Gil. He's going to have the next 4 or 5 laps, sorry, to get himself done. Well, yes, it is 4 laps to get this done.
Yes, he managed to get past Ash Best okay, but it is the 4 cars that are working together to try and stop Gil in these last 4 laps. So Gil's got a tough task on his hands, but if he could do it, then good points are on the line, and he could be on for a huge chance going into the final 2 rounds. He only missed his chance on the championship finale last season, because he couldn't make Brazil. If he was able to make Brazil, he would have been in a championship fight, and imagine where he could have been in terms of the championship. But he gets his chance this season, and he's definitely relishing it so far. He's not close enough to Jensen this lap, I don't think, but don't forget the delta is massively different compared to the medium, so this could be good for Slipstream. Let's watch Gil now, heading towards turn 12. He can't get past, but he's winning a few tenths at the moment. Daniel's got past Ash Best now, heading into turn 13 and 14, or maybe not. Ash Best is actually going to fight this one, actually. Going into now the second right hand. He's gone for the switchback. Look at him. He's not giving up without a fight. Can Ash Best retain 6th place, or with the fresher tyres, can Daniel hold on into the final few corners? They're still going side by side. Ash Best, the PSGL legend himself, definitely wants to make his last PSGL races were memorable, and he keeps P6, or will he? Daniel to the right. Oh, they're giving it everything today. Daniel's running out of ERS, whereas Ash Best has got a lot of ERS to gain. So I think that's why Ash Best is liking the fact that Daniel has got less. He can see behind that the ERS light was flashing red, which means you're under 10%. So I have to say, good job from Ash Best defending on much older tyres, which could die out pretty soon. So fair play to him. But in my opinion, I think it's because he had more ERS to play with compared to Daniel. But brilliant job from these two.
Yeah, it was good for Mash Best to make sure he got the DRS actually. And well, I say make sure, perhaps he surprised himself that he had DRS on that main straight, but he had to keep himself in the fight so that he could make use of it, and he did. So, looking at these front runners then, that 3 laps to go. At some point, because Izzle's going to think about making a move, isn't he? So it's gonna be maybe not this lap, as Daniel again tries, and he will succeed this time on getting by Ash Best. But yeah, someone's going to make a move here. You know, they'll be very much aware of how long's left in the race. We can't just sit here doing nothing.
Oh, Gil for the move!
Gil knows it as well, so he's going to try and make a move. Nearly hits Reset. That might disrupt his exit, and you can see that as Jensen fights back on the inside of a triple right-hander. Gil, though, with the extra grip, will keep himself in the fight. And I think he'll also get DRS as well for the start of the next lap, and so that'll be him with a chance to catch up to Reset as well. The podium is right in front of him here, and he still has a little bit of DRS. It's not looking particularly good. It's not looking great for Reset either. Those front two should really be the front two as well at the end of the race. It'll be really Gizzle or Suko for the win just because of their ERS levels. They're so much well managed, or so much better managed than the guys behind. They've done a superb job. So let's see how their fight is going to end up, because that should start to heat up in the next 2 laps. As we see Gil staying in DRS. Risa is just about in the DRS zone of Gizzle, and that is important for him, because it means, at the very least, if the ERS is low, he'll still have a chance to get some good straight line speed. But here's Kazizzle. Is he going to use some of this ERS then? Because he's got plenty of it, and he only has a lap and a half to use it. And you can see the closing speed on the DRS straight on Suko. Is Kazizzle going to just show himself for now? He's just going to let Suko know he's there. Not going to do anything rash, as Yannick gets by Baraka as well. He's having a disastrous end of this race. I mean, he'll get back ahead of Yannick because of the penalty. And the other penalty, he's gone off. Baraka's been off. Well, 6 seconds.
That could be...
6 seconds. He'll be alright, but that's not going to help him with any other positions. So, here we go then. Final lap time. Suko has more ERS, but Gizzle will have the 2 DRS zones. So that is what we're playing for now. The race victory is on the line, and Gizzle, I suppose he's in the strongest position for this, but he has to still get it done. And we'll see what he'll be like on this lap. He's got to save some of his ERS until the last straight. You can see he's sort of sporadically using it in the first sector just to keep close. Keep it all within the lines, and then it'll be about getting it done on the back straight. If he isn't close enough, he won't go for it, I suppose. But, like I say, in a championship context, there's nothing really to lose now, is there? So, might as well give it a try. And if you get a win out of it, you get a win out of it. But here he goes, into the hairpin. Gets it slowed down nicely. And no major slides on the exit, although Suko was still stronger. But this is it then, he's using full power, full DRS. It'll need a dive bomb and a half here. Suko won't even really have to move over to defend, and yeah, because Gizzle's going to try and, you know, sort of get a mistake out of him, but that's not going to work. It never works. As much as you'll try it, unless you can surprise him in the next couple of corners, and you're surprising yourself more with that sliding. Suko again just has it under control, and that's round. So that is Gizzle pushing too hard. Nothing to lose, but he has lost. So I guess I was wrong. That'll help Gil though. He'll very much be excited and happy to take a podium position, as will Suko. A second victory of the season is coming his way. The Alpine man, the runner-up last season, takes the victory here today. Risa won last week, ends up second place today. What a run he's on. And Gil comes home to take third place from 11th on the grid. A very important day for his championship. He now takes the lead of it, as far as I'm aware, by a point, I think.
Because the gap after tonight, well, gap before tonight was 8 points, and you get 10 points for third place. So yeah, Gil will take the championship lead going into Azerbaijan in 2 weeks' time. So Fabi, not the race he wanted, but for Gil, it's a start for things to come. And could we see a form where he could win the championship? This is his second third place in a row and his 4th podium in a row. He's on the best form at the moment, but a great job from pretty much Kazidal up until his spin. But Suko drove amazing today, took his second win. Even though he may be out of championship contention, at least he's going to try and have some fun going into the final races of the... Well, actually, no, he's not out of championship contention because Fabi didn't score any... No, Fabi did score a point. I think Hadler had a moment. I think Hadler got being passed by Fabi. So I think Suko just will be in the championship fight going into Baku, but he would need Fabi and Gil to have bad races in the final 2 races, which will probably be impossible, but never stop believing for Suko and you could get there. But for now, Suko wins in USA.
Yeah, so Sugo did everything right. He made the move early in the race, and from then he had it all under control with the ERS. He was under a little bit of pressure on the last lap, but in the end it was him who provoked the mistake out of Kazizel, so it was a great run from him. Reset, 3rd podium in a row. He's visited every single step of the podium now in the last 3 races, and Gil as well, the new championship leader. Like I say, he's done this before. He's won championships in the F1 games. He did it in the F1 tier. This gives him such a big advantage coming into these last couple of races because he knows how it's done.
Yes, he has the experience compared to the other drivers, whereas for drivers like, obviously, Kazizel and even though they're out of the championship fight anyway, they may not have the experience, and obviously Fabi hasn't won a title, so I think it could be advantage Gil going into the final 2 races, but Fabi hasn't won a race, so Fabi has got to win a race, really, because most of his championship rivals have won races now. So, yeah, Fabi's got a lot of work to do, but Gil, could this be the swing of momentum that he's looking for? It's like what we're seeing with Lewis Hamilton in real life. Gil could get maybe another podium next week, and that could put him back in the fray. I believe he did well last season in Baku as well, so he's looking quite good in 2 weeks' time, where we have a break week next week due to F1 esports, but the week after we'll head to Baku and then Brazil to end off the season. And even though there won't be as many people in championship contention as last season, we are still going to be in for an epic fight between, I think, 2 amazing drivers.
Yeah, it's definitely going to be an entertaining fight. I mean, it's a shame that Fabi had that incident today, isn't it? But absolutely still has the pace for, I think. And certainly will not be given up just yet. So definitely worth tuning into these last 2 races of the season. We know how much drama they gave us last time we went to Baku. We saw the whole Lamakina championship collapse when he ended up down the escape road at turn 8. And then we had the last lap fight for the championship in Brazil last season. It really did go down to that final lap. So absolutely 2 races worth watching back if you didn't see them at the time. And 2 races worth looking forward to for the end of this season.
Yes, indeed. And usually Gil likes to come and talk to us in the interview room, so we will wait for him to go in as well. So I will do some quick math in the background whilst we wait for potentially Gil to get onto this. So Gil will be leading the championship. I'm just trying to see, obviously Fabi got 10th place. So yeah, Gil will be leading the championship by a point. Did Fabi get fastest lap or did someone else get fastest lap?
It was Baraka.
It was Baraka. So yeah, Gil will be leading the championship by a singular point over Fabi. You couldn't get any closer than that. That is just crazy. So any small mistake from these 2 could put them in a huge disadvantage going into Brazil. But for now, they're on an even playing field, these 2, and they're both doing a stellar job. Both of them have had DNFs. Both of them didn't have a strong first half of the season, but the second half is where they picked up and had their strong form. Apart from tonight for Fabi, but at least he got a point out of it, which is a good recovery, I have to say. But the star of the show tonight was Suko. Could he be the one to potentially get a runners-up spot in the championship? We'll have to wait and see. I don't think Gil is wanting to have an interview with us, sadly, or any of the top 3, so we will have to leave it there. So no race next week, so don't expect to watch anything next Monday as we're on our break week, but make sure you join F1 currently as they're going towards the end of their qualifying for USA as they do their race. So we could see a new champion being crowned tonight in F1 in the name of Juice. Can he do it? Will he be able to score the points that he need, or will it go down to the final 2 races? we'll find out soon. But for myself and Owen, we'll see you in 2 weeks' time for the Azerbaijan Grand Prix. Have a good night, everybody. Goodbye.